Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Anshruta. That would be perfect. I absolutely love what you said there about how ignoring technology and its promises for memory recall and computation would be like asking and teaching people how to inhabit caves. Well, so that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to make a cross-sectional study of the problems of education and preferably suggest solutions. And the solutions that our students prescribed are that we make our education a lot more flexible, and of course that we stop focusing so much on rote learning, because now the technology is here that is no longer necessary. So cost-effective methods of improving the problems of education. But something interesting happened when we first announced our topic. When we first said that education was supposed to offer solutions, when did it become the problem? We intended that our students would think about what are the problems of education. But something very interesting happened as an offshoot. A lot of students in our school started to focus on the part where education was supposed to offer solution. And so we had Harshit, whom you saw earlier today, discussing how we can rebrand education. He came up with an idea of a combustion engine that actually reduces emission by a whole lot. We look forward to having that paper up very soon on our Drishtikon page. We also had some students that got together and used Henry Fayol's principles of order in management and labeled the switchboards of our entire school, so that nobody was now trying the trial and error method to find out which appliance is connected to which switch. And all this in just 2 weeks of thinking. And so we have one team like that today that applied mathematics, economics, and God knows what else to the ideas of to the problem of traffic flow. Abhijay and Nomer, are you ready?
Yes, we are. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
All right, then. This is our last team, Dr. Sujata, Dr. Rajesh. This is our last team.
Okay.
Over to you, Abhijay and Nomer.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Abhijay. I'm Nomer.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So, should we begin? Step out on the road, and you are hit by the chaos and confusion, which is an integral part of the Indian roads. Be your preferred mode of transport, or a wearing Ferrari, or a clickety-clacky bullock cart, you simply cannot go faster than the vehicle chugging along in front of you. Traffic snarls are a common man's conundrum. From the billionaire in his edifice, the slum dweller in his shanty, traffic jams paint all with the same brush. And in fact, as I stepped out of school 2 weeks ago, I saw a dire state of traffic right outside. I thought to myself, if only someone could solve this puzzle. And that's when it hit me, that for 1 year, I had been staring at, living in, a real life problem, oblivious of the fact that I had already been equipped with necessary skills to take on the problem head on.
Using everyday qualitative and quantitative skills picked up during our course, we have developed a mathematical model to optimize vehicular flow among roads. We have tried to create solutions which are not capital intensive and can thus be stitched into existing systems without a hitch. A teacher once told me, when studying something, ask why multiple times. It will feel like a game, but will reinforce your concepts as you question the roots. Let's try that out. We want to deal with traffic and want to optimize vehicular flow. Why? To reduce transport time and reduce stress. Why? To make travel efficient and to improve mental well-being. We now know the root cause of this problem and why our solution is pertinent to societal welfare.
Another important question is how. Knowing why a problem exists is essential. However, without knowledge how a problem came into existence and how to solve it, one's knowledge is incomplete. Just like yin and yang, Laurel and Hardy, these two burning questions are entwined and inseparable. The first idea which came to mind to ease congestion on roads is to, well, build more roads. It may seem to make sense, but that's not the case. Economists Waldorf and Nash came up with Waldorf's principle of equilibrium and Nash's equilibrium, which have profound application in number theory, game theory, and combinatorics. As you can see in this example, on removal of path B to C, average travel time per commuter decreases. This counterintuitive behavior is known as Brace's paradox for resource allocation. As you can see, the solution to traffic problems is not simple, else it would have been tied up in a knot a long time ago. These concepts are some of the pillars on which our model rests.
For roads less than 350 meters, another theory is needed to explain traffic flow. Take a road with a signal at the end. The moment the signal turns green, the car in the front row doesn't move. Because of the delay in the first row of cars, there is a delay in the second row. This delay keeps increasing as we move back to the extent that the last 3 rows of cars are unaffected. This time delay resembles a geometric progression with a common ratio less than 1. However, if we have the signal turn yellow instead of directly turning from red to green, the time delay for the first car tends to 0. The time delay for the first car tends to 0. The sum of the entire geometric progression tends to 0. Every term of a geometric progression is a multiple of a first term. The lot of zeros still add up to 0. Also, if we have a pothole or some other deformity on the road, it slows down the flow of traffic, and all this can be predicted with reasonable accuracy using basic equations of motion. In fact, we were able to prove that a car can slow down to a factor of the distance of the pothole divided by the length of the car. Using basic trigonometry, we found the optimal height to place a signal at. The human eye has a vision range of 60 degrees in the upward direction. A comfortable angle for the human eye to perceive is 30 degrees. If the ratio of the height of the signal to the length of the road is 1:3, the person at the back of the road will also be able to see the signal and react faster. We had a lot of fun coming up with this model. We integrated the topics that we learned in our coursework into this project. This made the work enjoyable instead of giving it the feel of a chore. We have gained much insight into the real-world application of education. In these past 2 weeks, we have learned more through hands-on experience than we have in 2 years.
Exactly. In fact, that's the way learning should happen. That's the system which should be in place. A liberal system where thoughts are not bridled, but allowed to run free, where the limits of what can be attained are only one's imagination. It's what every child knows and what every adult has forgotten. Some believe that it's the system we deserve, just not the one we need right now. So we pass on the mantle of upheaval to the next generation. I ask you, when is it convenient to slip out of this rut? I say, be not passive putty, but the potter who shapes the clay. Instead of waiting to change, be the change. The waves of change are striking the shores of our reality, and we can ride them or be swept away.
Thank you. Abhijay and Numair, I request you to stay online with us. Abhijay?
Yeah, right here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Rajesh and Sujata, these 2 students have prepared a paper which I, shared with Sujata yesterday. This is an amateur effort, but they have tried to use their knowledge of mathematics and economics and computer science.
Sure, it's very interesting. I definitely look at it early next week and also send them a few other links where these problems have been considered using game theory and so on. I'm sure it will inspire them. And in fact, at UBC, we have some people who are doing this very exciting about mathematics and human behavior. So I'm sure since they are interested in such things, I just point to those sites, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, ma'am. I can tell you that they will, because in fact, what they have been doing over the past 2 weeks is something that we are very reassured when we see, because for example, Abhijay, he went to 5 or 6 important function like junctions in our city, and he went and actually counted cars to be able to understand what is the kind of flow that you expect, what are the problems. And when we see something like that, when students on their own can take that kind of effort for something which is extracurricular, we feel like we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I somehow feel that our education.
Ma'am, would you have any questions for that?
Sorry,
ma'am.
No, I was just saying that one of the drawbacks of our education system in the last 3 decades has been that it has completely stunted these aspects of children going out and doing things and learning from them. I'm so glad to see it coming back and seeing. I have great faith in our youth, and this is something I was telling earlier, and I'm sure Rajesh will agree with me. The few interactions we have had with youngsters on piano gives me tremendous optimism. We have so many people out there, and we just need to let them express and be a part of some excitement. They're just raring to go, and we are holding them back.
Absolutely, and this is something that resonates so strongly with me, because I always believe that we don't trust our children so much that they can think and they can do something, so we don't stretch the envelope with them, and that's something that we I think Shaheen has done it with Teach for India, reposing our trust and our faith, and having and I'm sure that they will rise to the occasion, but we need to give them that assurance and that trust.
So let me
Yes, Rajesh. Yes.
No, I was just saying that a couple of things for the students, for the, we as in friends of mine and I, we have an initiative that we call public problem solving. So the idea is to address problems that are important for people living in a city. So it could be traffic, it could be garbage, it could be any of those things. So it's great to see that you guys have tried to convert that into a mathematical model. Now, the challenge I would pose to you is that, especially for something like traffic, how do you turn a mathematical model, how do you make it more robust? So, your model has certain assumptions. So, for example, you use the geometric series. Now, you have to tell me that if it is not a geometric series exactly, but something slightly different, the model still makes the predictions that you wanted. So, for example, if the roads are broadened, how do you show that for a while traffic flow becomes smoother, but then it gets actually more clogged? And by the way, you should
Abhijay, do you answer that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, in fact, while we were researching for this topic, we found various things. What we're talking about is a moving bottleneck, essentially, which will get formed, where one lane may end up becoming a truck and slow down the traffic to a left lane. So these are all things we wanted to do. We base our model on certain assumptions, and then slowly, one after the other, we take out.
Yeah, we're going to take out each assumption and expand the model to something that is very close to the real world.
Okay. Let me also ask you another question, since I'll play the role of the quiz master here.
No, we want you to.
Right. You must have heard of Bernoulli's principle, right?
Yeah.
Bernoulli's principle. So in fluid mechanics, if you make a pipe narrow, as you all do when we use faucets, the speed of the water that comes out becomes faster. But in traffic, it's the exact opposite. So what's the difference? So why is it that water flows out faster while traffic gets slower when you get a bottleneck?
The thing still is that, as such, from what I understand from what fluid flow, the orientation of the molecules as such, when you decrease the size of the faucet, they can still come close to each other comfortably and align them very close, such that the intermolecular distances will be very small. When you have big objects like trucks and cars, they can't really come that close. They actually, in fact, they're not even close to each other. The people actually fight about who will get into the lane first. You're right, you could probably constrict the lane, but yeah, just because you have cars and trucks, they can't really align themselves the way water molecules do, because they the orientation is very different, and that can't really be applied to traffic.
So, good answer, but let me just give you a more abstract way of stating the same answer, which is that, fluid, at least water, we model it as incompressible, right? Which means that it's due to the law of conservation of mass that you have the velocity being doubled when you constrict the diameter by half, right? But on the so of course, for traffic there is no such thing as the law of conservation of mass. So you can't have the same amount of traffic in half the volume as you would in full volume. So it turns out that actually good physical principles allow you to reason abstractly about these kinds of things as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. And any more questions for Abhijay and Numair?
No, not from me.
No, and Amita, I really think I should leave. Maybe Rajesh can stay for a few more minutes, if that's possible. But I just want to say that it's been a tremendous experience. I want to congratulate all the students for putting up such a fantastic show. And I wish I could have stayed longer. And I look forward to such, hangouts or something in the future. I'll be very happy to interact and discuss them a little more.
Thank you so much, Sujata, for sparing your time.
It was a pleasure too. It was a pleasure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhijay and Numair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all the students, they did a great job. And, no, I just think that the students did a great job. And,
thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
The problems a lot.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
I will exit now.
Thank you for taking your time out to talk to us.
Not at all, my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. See you all. Thanks. And congratulations to you, Amita, and also Ajit. You did a great job comparing. And to Sham, the man behind the scenes who does.
Yes. Come here. Sham, come and say
Right. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Rajesh, would you like to maybe, kind of give some concluding impressions?
Okay, so let me start with some bad news. There's a very prominent school in Delhi that I joined in class 7. I won't name the name, but it's a school that is now in pretty much every city in India. So you can guess which one it is. So the first day I went to 7th class, and my Hindi teacher, who also will not be named, slapped me on my face because I had not done my homework. And I said, it's my first day in school, how could I have done the homework? But clearly she was not impressed by that reasoning. So I do hope that model of education is seeing its last days in India, and it's great to see children actually being the leaders in this process. I still, my inner child is not that far away, but I recognize that I'm not a kid anymore. But it's absolutely fantastic to see that children are taking the initiative, doing research, inquiring into real questions, not fake questions, and presenting their findings in public. So these are the skills that will be useful in the 21st century, not the ability to mug up answers and regurgitate them in exams. So I'm really happy that Drishtikon is enabling that kind of inquiry.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. And I think we'll just maybe get the audience once on screen. Can you all, I hope you enjoyed the session. You've been a great audience. I don't know whether we'll be able to get a question from you, but I'm sure you'll have lots of questions to ask your children. and I'm sure you're very proud of parents and teachers there. I'm sure you're very proud of your wards. They've done a splendid job of, being on the Hangout. This is their first time. And Rajesh, if I come back to you, we had butterflies this morning. We couldn't even do a proper run through before this. And you know how schools work. They never put up a show without a run through. And this is the first time they've been, exposed to this medium. I told them that, in times to come, you may be giving interviews over Skype or maybe Google Hangout. So you need to develop those skills on how to present and how to make an impact on the screen through social media. So that's another reason we thought this would be a good experiment to try out. Of course, we were banking a lot on the internet speed, which has helped us.
And your cooperation.
And yours, yes.
Yes, oh my God. To take out time from your busy schedules and just listen in for us. Bear with us when we had those technical glitches. We can't thank you enough for all that, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure. One suggestion I have is, if there are questions, maybe you can just aggregate those questions and share them and see, we can easily create a site where...
definitely we want to continue this discussion. In fact, I was just about to suggest that for everybody listening, and even for those that will watch this later on YouTube, this discussion should not end here, because then we have absolutely polluted the idea of taking learning beyond the classroom. So this discussion should continue rightfully on our Drishtikon page, on Beer Ma'am's Facebook page, and everywhere else. So we would invite you to that page. I believe you're already a part there.
Yeah. I think maybe, Rajesh, can we also put the link on Gyanom page with your permission?
I have put the YouTube link already.
Oh, you have? Okay, great.
Yeah. It's already been done. So that's what I'm saying, that if we see the questions and I think that especially science or sort of knowledge-related questions, will be interesting to get answers from everywhere else in the world as well, and not just from us. So it will be fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Rajesh, and thank you everyone, the participants and the audience. Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, ma'am.
You've done a great job. Just to add one last bit, Ajit used to be our student a few years ago, and the fact that he has come back to his alma mater and to share and to give back to the school, I think speaks a lot. He's by far the most popular teacher around, and doing great job. I mean, we talked about the youth coming back and being, making education attractive for the youth, and I think he's come back, and that's a great reassurance for all of us.
I think, ma'am, if I may say so, the most important theme for Drishtikon today, for me, the most important takeaway has been the word optimism. There is so much wrong with the world today. There is so much wrong in almost every respect of how humans live with each other and alone, that it's often quite disconcerting. You often feel like giving up. But when you come to the education sector, when you deal with these minds, these are minds that have not learned to give up yet. These are minds that have not been corrupted with the way we adults think yet. And so if there is any chance of an overhaul, of a reform, of any chance of a U-turn, I believe that it is here. And when I am with children, when I am with people of this age, these minds, I feel optimistic. And so on that note, we shall sign out then.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, from the
Thank
teacher
you,
and the
Ajit.
thought.
Thank you, Shyam. Thank you, Avneeta.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajesh.